You're watching GearWire.com, and I'm Owen O'Malley, and we're here with Vincent van Haaff, who is the head of Waterland Design. Vincent, thanks for taking time with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So now, this basic design is it the same? Scaled up to huge studios to smaller studios like this.
Right.
Yeah.
So this ceiling element is adaptable to very small spaces. It's really a scalable technology that I have successfully installed in just a little workroom for a guitar player who wants to also record his own basic tracks. Mm-hmm. And so one bedroom gets converted into a playroom, right. And most of these people are very professional, but it's a very small room, and really one would not expect that there would be a response that clear in such a small space. Yeah.
Right. So you're basically the sort of this design, was a response, you said, to more accurate monitoring technologies, and in part anyway. Do you think that certainly the recording industry technology has changed vastly in the past 10 years, even 15 years? Do you think that's sort of changed the way your design philosophy, or has that how has that evolved along with changing technology recently?
Well, the actual miniaturization of the technologies, and actually the computerization, where one can work out of a box much more accurately, conveniently, has created a demand that is for smaller spaces, for basically less real estate. The real estate is redundant in certain situations where you don't have to have a console. Now this is a beauty vintage API, but take an SSL, which is 12, 13 feet wide and 5 feet deep, or for that matter, of course, the Neves and the very large professional multi-channel boards need that air. They need that space. Not only do they need the space as a workspace, but quite literally they need the air conditioning. So you need to adapt
right.
in a larger room for more air changes per hour. The room has to be fairly stable, cool, and
that equipment had its own infrastructure. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. The equipment now all of a sudden creates its own demand. Yeah. I mean, it's sitting there like a naughty child going, me. So yeah,
a gigantic naughty child.
A gigantic naughty child with lots of little fingers. If you just then take that back to the bedroom and you say, well, I have that same capability in my Pro Tools, my Logic, my Nuendo, whatever you're using, that capability now all of a sudden has been miniaturized, has been compressed into a box, and I have no problem whatsoever with working in that fashion. It's just a whole different attitude.
Right.
And what happens is that the speakers come closer. Obviously, because the room is not as large, and the control that you have to exert over those speakers, it's just everything all of a sudden becomes more like dollhousey.
I see.
And we have reacted to that over the last 20 years. I mean, that is been a progression that inevitably had to be reacted to. Yeah. As much as that the Cadillac is on the way out and the compact car is on the way in. And it's simplify.
Just necessity. Yeah.
Necessity. Yeah.
In these smaller spaces like this, are there any new challenges that arise?
Wiring, mostly. And electrical in the smaller space, especially in the residential recording studio, in the prosumer recording studio, we could call it. The house or the residential infrastructure itself oftentimes cannot bear the demand of the electronics. So your greatest challenge is therefore, and besides the air conditioning that I just mentioned, which has to be just as quiet as in a big pro type of studio, otherwise it's just distracting. The power and grounding is usually the greatest challenge in a small studio, because the rest of that space oftentimes will contain a washing machine, will contain a refrigerator, coffee machine, all the things that hang off that same box in the wall, and so we're oftentimes faced with installing a very professional power and grounding system for a fairly small, relatively small studio.
So, obviously, you'd be involved in the design of live rooms too. Is that true?
Oh yes, my pride and joy.
Yeah. Do you think there's been the same evolution in the change of the live room as there has been in the control room over the past like 15, 20 years?
Not much.
Yeah.
Not much. We still have the Marshall stack.
Right.
We have the ceiling element, but of course, as the live room the live room environments go, we still need amplifier stacks. Oftentimes, the heads in the control room. This entire house has been dedicated to a myriad of functions, such as a bar. But then, opposite the Irish whiskey, there is also a set of keyboards and amplifiers and microphones and glockenspiels and xylophones and amplifiers. And for example, here we have a refrigerator style of door that closes the amplifiers so that neighbors won't hear a whisper. This is kind of cute, especially this door. A hallway stacked up with even more Moog, whatever they can use. And a small live room, which in itself is sort of like the living room. A very comfortable space with microphones abounding. The talkback loudspeaker is actually an old a radio speaker, suspended from wires that also bring the signal to it. Keyboards, and yeah, just a home environment that is actually just conducive to creativity, to making the artist feel comfortable. I make a point of having natural light in most of the studios I'm in. I always try to bring in natural light.
Yeah.
Having worked in a recording studio for a few years in the beginning of my career here in Los Angeles, I was always sort of, it's depressing to walk out of a studio at 3 o'clock in the morning when it's all dark outside and you really could have sworn that it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and that you were going to just go have dinner. But I mean, the intensity of actually being enclosed in that, you know, it's a dungeon eventually when you're in that disconnected environments.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, you know, music is trying to make a connection to the outside world. Why not let the outside world in when you are actually creating it? We can walk down the path, and I'll show you a little workroom which we just recently finished. Come on, guys. It's been raining in Los Angeles. What a blessing. Yeah, for people who are from the East Coast, this is goes without saying. Just a little workroom, similar kind of a refrigerator door, isolation booth, amplifier type of thing. Doubled up on a lot of the wall surfaces, abandoned the bathtub, and that's now all gear, of course. And here we have, it's basically the ideal workroom with the vintage gear and just a very compact, small environment that answers to a whole bunch of things that need to be done in pre-production, in setting the artist up with the right amount of basic tracks. Little tricks, like here is a door that goes out into a little kitchen. Now, of course, we have to have the access to that, so we can roll this console out of the way. Vintage Neve gear. And the blessing of this room is that the roofline was already in that configuration that we were discussing earlier.
Like they knew you were coming.
They knew that I was coming, and it was built in 1928. Yeah. Some acoustical treatment in the corners, and just the ultimate basic workroom. And as you can see here in the back, diffusion. This is just Manfred Schroeder design from the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s. It's a diffuser element that you will see in a lot of recording studios these days. Yes. And then, of course, yeah, there is cable run all over the place. Yeah. Now, one of my hams is that I never want to see cable. You have enough already in the spaghetti of a patch bay. It's confusing enough. But so now everything in a fairly professional recording studio should be as much as possible concealed and hidden behind the walls and under the floor and in the ceiling, wherever we can stick it.